Hey, what's up guys? Enders here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to try to take you through the thought process of customizing a weapon to your liking within Delta Force, because as you can see here, it can be a little overwhelming. And this isn't even the half of it. Wait until you go into the calibrate menu and you see, oh my god, what is all this stuff? Then you go in the loadout menu and you go, oh, what are these stats? I don't understand. Then you go into details. Then there's all these numbers and plus minuses, multipliers, milliseconds, flinch multipliers, accuracy, what does that even do? And then you're just lost and you end up making a gun that doesn't kill anything. I'm going to try to help you do that for every single weapon in the game. This is not just for the M4, guys. This guide will help you customize weapons across any weapon, right? Doesn't matter if it's a submachine gun, sniper rifle, light machine gun, whatever. So if you're curious about Delta Force and you want to follow the game, definitely subscribe to the channel. I also stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders. First link in the description. Hope to see you guys there. Now then, how do you go about customizing a weapon in Delta Force? So for this, I have my M4 build here. I'm going to do the M4 in this video. It's in the thumbnail. You know, people always ask about it. I will put the build code in the description, okay? If you do not know what I'm talking about, this game has an amazing feature where if you want this exact gun I am using, you can take this code that will be in the description, and if your weapon is the correct level to be able to use the code, you can take this code and import it right here. Hit this little thing, and then boom, you don't have to do anything. Basically, I just made the weapon for you, and I can use it. Boom, there it is. So that'll be in the description. Anyway, let's start with a naked M4. Boom, just get rid of everything there. If you're wondering how I got the skin, by the way, I believe it's for kills after mastery with the weapon. Okay, let's talk about the weapon. So the very, very first thing you should do for every single weapon in the entire game, when it's naked, completely naked, go into details and go into control. This is where you will find the recoil pattern. The recoil pattern is affected by things you do to the weapon and certain attachments. Certain attachments can squish it vertically. Certain attachments can squish it horizontally and smooth out those ugly bends, those ugly horizontal recoil bends you see in the pattern. So every weapon pattern is different. Some are uglier than others, and it can help you figure out what you're going to do with this gun. Luckily, the M4A1 is fairly straightforward. It's kind of a very softly curved S pattern, okay? So that being said, I like to just slap on a sight of my choice, right? The sight I'm going to use for the weapon. So for me, I'm going to use the panoramic red dot. You can use whatever you want, and then I'm going to calibrate it to 1.5x. You can make it a true 1x sight. You can make it 1.25 or 1.5. If you wonder what pupil distance does, I believe it moves the sight inwards or outwards visually, right? It's kind of like the sight FOV, so you can mess with it, see how you like that. So that's the very first step. Now, the second step is I like to start with the barrel. The reason being is the barrel really is sort of like the cornerstone of your build. It decides what your build is going to be used for, whether you go with integrally suppressed or short barrel or carbon fiber barrel, whatever. You know, choose your barrel first, in my opinion. In Delta Forces, particularly with ARs, I find that stacking or finding the barrel with the most range and muzzle velocity helps a ton because it gives you an easier time hitting targets at range. As you know, Delta Force has insanely long range gunplay, and you can beam people out to like 150 meters, which is crazy. So range and muzzle velocity is certainly going to help with that, as well as control stability. Now, you'll notice that this has a trade-off, right? The handling is severely impacted as well as the accuracy. And you'll notice I also calibrated it. So what this does is, when you attach certain things, you can go into the calibration menu and you can go, okay, I want to calibrate the barrel. You can add plus or minus effects. So you can have plus 4% ADS movement speed, but for the penalty of minus 4% firing stability. In the case of this weapon, in the case of most weapons, in my opinion, especially full auto ones, you're going to want to max that muzzle velocity out and max that firing stability out. You can make up the ADS speed somewhere else, and ADS movement speed in this game, honestly not that important. It kind of surprised me how unimportant it is to me, because I love that stat in most games. Okay, so we picked our barrel. Now this is where the balancing act takes place. Throughout the build, you're going to go into loadout, and you're going to go into details. and you're going to take a look at what is being impacted. Okay, so already our recoil is lower, right? Our pattern is slightly less harsh. You can tell this pattern is shorter than this one, which means your recoil is better. Handling looks to be impacted, right? ADS speed is not as good. Stability got a lot better. Now, what's also important is understanding what these specific categories do. This is your damage ranges, right? So as you can see, the M4 does 20 damage out to 30 meters. Then it drops off from there. Control. This contains your recoil multipliers, such as horizontal, vertical, burst fire, firing stability, all that sort of thing. Handling. This has to do with your reload times, reload empty time, ADS speed, sprint to fire delay, and many, many things. Stability. This is an incredibly important stat. This has to do with how much your recoil will be reduced while holding breath. Incredibly important, and it's actually a multiplier, okay? This is why stability is so important. Flinch multiplier as well. This will help you basically stay in the fight. When someone hits you while you're shooting at them, you flinch in this game. So having a really, really, really advantageous stability flinch multiplier helps you not get flinched as much and stay on target. And then, of course, movement stability helps the sight not shake as much while you're moving around. Accuracy can be a confusing stat. People get confused and they say, oh my god, I don't want to sacrifice accuracy. I'm not going to hit anything. Accuracy only affects hip fire in this game. You can have 0 accuracy on your weapon and you will still beam people at 100 meters if you're aiming down sights. Okay. Sorry for the yap session, but I just want to make sure this video is thorough so people understand. Now moving on, the balancing act. Like I mentioned, you're gonna have a bunch of trade-offs. So the next thing that I like to do is I like to find a laser slot. You can decide for yourself and personalize your build if your playstyle calls for a laser or not. But personally, I like having a laser on a side rail. The reason I like to have it on a side rail is, for instance, let me just slap a laser right here. It's in my sight. You see that? So that is why I like to put lasers on the side exclusively, okay? Again, that's personal preference, but I think it's most important. So, okay, boom, I put a laser on there. What lasers do is obviously increase your hip fire accuracy, and I actually increase ADS speed by a slight amount. Next thing, I like to decide what magazine I am using for this weapon. So I decided the 60 round drum mag just isn't worth it. I find that I reload before I use all 60 rounds. So the 45 mag is definitely a great exception. Now, I take a look at the, downsides, and I am simply just going to compensate for these downsides. Make sure you equip your, mag assist for that free handling as well. So now we're going to take a mid-build check, okay? Recoil, still looking pretty good. Handling, suffering, right? We'll have to make up for that. Stability, still looking pretty good, but actually slightly worse than it was. And accuracy, like I said, it doesn't really matter that much. You're still going to be able to hip fire people just fine. So it's looking like we're going to have to just deal with the handling and make sure we don't screw everything else up. The next thing I like to do is I like to come in here and figure out my grip and my stock and my foregrip. This is where you need to understand where your build is going, which is why I'm emphasizing you go in the details and you figure that out. Like I said, we need handling and we need stability and we need to not screw the control over. I'll come to the muzzle last. For the rear grip, you have a lot of options. You have great handling grips, which is really useful in some builds. You have grips that have new attachment slots that give you grip mounts. And you have little net positive grips, but we're not looking for net positives, okay? We want the absolute best for these weapons. Like I said, we need stability. Very important stat. I'm going to equip this grip, and it might not look great, but make sure you calibrate it. We're going to calibrate it for extra control. The reason why I calibrate this for extra control is because extra control is a constant benefit to the weapon, whereas aiming stability while breathing is only beneficial while you're breathing while you're firing. Now, stability while breathing is fantastic, and I do still breathe when I shoot, but as you will see at the end of the video, it will not matter. So come to the grip mount, because this grip opened that up. As I said, we need stability, so here we are. We found the stability, but you'll notice it screws the handling over. So what do we need for handling now? Let's go to the foregrip. There are a bunch of attachments here. Weapon stability while firing, sounds fantastic. horizontal control, horizontal firing stability. Now, this attachment is actually fantastic, but if you reference back the recoil pattern, this doesn't really need horizontal control. You know, as you can see, it's already starting to smooth out and become purely vertical. So we don't need a horizontal recoil attachment. We don't need this big thing either because it screws over handling and stability. We need handling. So we'll come over here and find a great handling attachment. Now, this gives us a ton. So we're going to equip that, and then we're going to calibrate it. Going to calibrate it for even more ADS speed. Now, that offsets partially the control that we calibrated before, but it's still a net positive. Then we're going to come over here and calibrate for stability while moving. You're going to be moving and shooting a ton in this game. Stability while moving is incredibly important and a constant benefit to your weapon while you're using it. Okay, so let's take a look. What did that do? Okay, recoil looks great. Handling, much better. Stability, fantastic, right? So we're making progress. We're not screwing anything up, and we're making progress towards the build. Now, you're probably wondering, you know, what about the muzzle? What about these? I will get to it. Don't worry. Let's go to the stock and the stock kit. So when looking at the stock kits, notice again, you lose the rear grip, okay? And you also lose calibration. So you actually lose the ability to calibrate not only the rear grip, but the stock itself. So in my opinion, these stock kits are almost always never worth it. With that in mind, we're going to go to the stock. So as we said, we need handling without screwing much over. We need handling and stability and whatever else without screwing much else over. Now, I decided for this build, I'm going to use this, the skeleton sniper stock. Yes, it is a sniper stock, but it gives us amazing handling, amazing stability, screws accuracy over a little bit, and docks control a little bit, but we will make up for that later, as you will see. So we're going to put that on, and we're going to calibrate it again. Oh, there's our control pretty much back right there. And then we'll calibrate this to offset what we just calibrated there. Now, you could go for ADS movement speed, but it's not really that useful. I'd rather offset the negative that I just applied. So I just did that, offset the negative. So let's, without these attachments on, let's just shoot the gun and see what we need. Do you see how bouncy it is vertical, even though it has quite a bit of control and stability? There's an important stat you will have to pay attention to when you upgrade your weapons, and that is found in the muzzle and grip variety. It is this right here. Vertical firing camera stability, okay, and also vertical firing stability. Watch what this single attachment does to the weapon. Did you see that? Let me remove it and show you again. Do you see the absolutely gigantic difference this single attachment made? It's really a must-have. So for that reason alone, we're going with that. It's just fantastic. Now, I did mention there are grip attachments that provide these same benefits, but if you look at the grip attachments, it actually screws your horizontal control over, whereas the muzzle brakes don't. Do you see that? So that's a very important distinction. So now that we have this, what I like to do is I like to leave these patches, right? These handling, you know, accuracy, control, and stability, all these little patches. I like to use these to offset the final stat that is lacking in the weapon. So the control, pretty dang good. Handling, you know, it's very manageable. It is very manageable. Don't get discouraged all the time by the red arrows. If you really take a look at it, it's really not that negative. It's only -5 to handling. It's very, very manageable. Look. And always go and feel the gun, you know, feel what's happening. So with that in mind, you know, stability is unbelievable here. You know, flinch multiplier 0.26. When you get shot with this gun, your weapon's not moving. Okay, movement stability, fantastic. When I move with it, sight barely even moves at all. So with that being said, for these little patches, we're just simply going to stack control just to make the recoil even less. And once we're done with that, we get a final product that can only be described as, I don't know, airsoft gunnish. That guy was 100 meters away. Like, the guy that just killed, 100 meters away. So this is how I like to customize my weapons in this game. I hope the thought process made sense, and you can apply this to many, many, many different types of weapons. If you enjoyed the video, be sure, again, to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I will leave this code in the description, and I will show you another build just to show you the thought process does apply to other weapons. This is my SMG45 build. SMG beaming people out to 100 meters. Again, if you want me to do more of these videos, if you found these videos helpful, definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. I will be making a dedicated video on the M4A1, SMG45, and any weapons you guys want me to build. Come by the Twitch streams, and I will see you guys in the next video.